I feel completely out of control. Like, part of me just wants to literally run away. You know, I have all these I'm gonna cry, I'm sorry. I have all these responsibilities, these kids, this job. I have to make the money, I have to do this, I have to do that. So I don't have time to deal with this, you know, but I don't have a choice but to deal with it. And it's just all becoming too much, to the point where sometimes I feel like I'd be just better off if I just wasn't here anymore. My name is Neimann. I'm originally from Texas, and I am turning 28 this year. I have 4 kids, all under the age of 10, and I run a real estate career by myself, so it's just pure chaos 24/7, you know, but I like it. It's cool. So I grew up in Lampasas, which is about an hour north of Austin, and my family life was not good. I started out with my parents, obviously, and they were drug addicts, meth heads. We actually got taken away when I was about 8 years old from CPS due to the drug use and everything. Got placed in a foster care for a year and then ended up back at my grandmother's house, which was my dad's mom. And honestly, things weren't a whole lot better there. And then, you know, from that point, he got access to us again. So we were going to see him on the weekends, and I was not allowed to see my mother. The apartment, he had a, what do you call it, efficiency apartment, didn't have any rooms, but like the way they had set it up, they had like curtains that made rooms. And so we had some girls over that day. I guess they were the neighbor kids, so I was hanging out with them, yada yada, was playing outside, was dirty, needed to take a shower. I got into the shower to wash myself and get clean, and I had forgotten my towel. So I just opened the door and, hey Dad, can you bring me a towel? He's like, yeah, brings me a towel. And then like the interaction at the time didn't cause me any like distress. I didn't think anything of it. You know, he opened the door, handed me the towel, and he saw me naked. But it was like, you know, it was just a quick, like, he passed me the towel and that was it. And then I went on about the rest of my day. It wasn't until later that night when I was sleeping and my brothers were asleep, because I have 2 younger brothers. My brothers were asleep, that he came and got me, and he asked me to come to the bathroom with him, so I did. And when we got in there, he had me take off my clothes and he had me spread my legs. He was like looking at my vagina and like comparing it to my mom's and telling me how pretty it was and asking if he could touch it. And I was really uncomfortable and I didn't know what to do, so I kind of just like, you know, let it happen. And at that point, that's when he got himself undressed and he was erect. You know, it's the first time I had ever saw a penis in my life, and it was my dad's. I didn't know what was going on, and he made me touch him. You know, he touched me and touch him, kind of thing. And then that was like the end of it that night, and I went back to bed. So it was I was really confused. I didn't know what the hell was happening, you know. Kind of the older I got, the more comfortable he got with just like touching me or like making comments about me, like the way I was developing and all of that. I have memories of him taking me on night drives. Let's go for a night drive. I didn't want to, but what choice did I have? Take me down to the river one night where we used to go all the time as a family and go like tubing. So he took me down there, and literally he's like, I have to pee. So he got out of the truck, and then the next thing I know, he was over on my side of the door, and when he opened the door, his penis was out, like ready to go, and he was trying to get me to have sex with him consensually. Like he was trying to get me to be okay with having sex with my dad, which I wasn't, so it didn't happen. He started abusing his current girlfriend's youngest daughter. And she came to me and my boyfriend at the time and told us what was happening. And that for me was like a last straw. It was like I knew how much I could handle, and I was almost out of there. Like I was fixing to be 17 and I was moving out with my boyfriend. I was leaving. I was never going to talk to him again. It was over. It was done. You know, for me, I was ready. But I couldn't live with myself if I left her behind just to keep going through what I had been through all these years. And so we took it to court. The Attorney General in Lampasas represented my case, And it was actually not just us two. There were 2 other girls as well, so 4 total. And they were supposed to bring those girls in as backup for my story, because my story was really hard, especially at the time. It was, the way they defended it was, why would a father do that to his child? You know? And so I ended up actually having to face him alone, and they never brought the other girls in. And he was supposed to get 20 years for what he did to me, and he didn't get any time. And then later, they took him back to court for the other 3 girls, and he did get 12 years in prison, but he only served 6 and was recently released. Anytime anything bad has ever happened to me in my life, I just lock it in what I've always called my box, and it's gone. It's like it didn't happen. However, now that I'm an adult and I am like, I don't know what has triggered it necessarily, it's all flooding back. So I'm struggling with it more so now than I ever have in the past. I feel completely out of control. Like, part of me just wants to literally run away. You know, I have all these I'm gonna cry, I'm sorry. I have all these responsibilities, these kids, this job. I have to make the money, I have to do this, I have to do that. So I don't have time to deal with this, you know, but I don't have a choice but to deal with it. And it's just all becoming too much, to the point where sometimes I feel like I'd be just better off if I just wasn't here anymore. And I know that isn't an option. You know, I have kids. I would never do something like that. I would never leave them that way. But that's how I feel. You know, honestly, if I'm being honest, if I didn't have kids, I don't know that I would still be here, because it's just, I've been through too much. I was capable of leaving behind my addictions and leaving behind my problems and putting my kids first, but it hurts because my mom wouldn't, or my parents wouldn't. So like, it's a good feeling, but it also hurts because I'm getting to see them experience life in the way that you're supposed to as a kid. I believe the death penalty is an appropriate punishment for abusers of children, women, men, any kind of sexual assault. My dad sexually molested and ruined the lives of 4 young girls, and he went to prison for a whole 6 years. And now he's back walking the streets and probably doing it again. You know, like, the reason, or to me, what I think the reason that this is so common is because they're not afraid. No one should be able to take something away from someone or cause so much trauma to someone at such a young age and just walk away. It's not fair.